Falcons and Lions tomorrow inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Just one day away from the preseason opener, the starters for the Atlanta Falcons projected depth chart had a scrimmage yesterday that served as their preseason action. Raheem Morris described that as a way to get the starters high-level reps, Brian Finneran, since they won't be appearing in the first preseason game tomorrow night.
No, it's super competitive. You get after each other a little bit, have a little scrimmage, maybe tackle to the ground every once in a while and get after each other like that. So you can absolutely simulate kind of game situations. It'll never be exactly what it is in a game because when you get to inside the Benz or to whatever stadium you're playing in a preseason game and whistles are blowing and referees are out there and other teams are staring you in the face, it's just different. And it feels different and it looks different. And I always compared it to, I always thought, I didn't realize it until I started going and playing for a long time, but there's different levels of intensity in the National Football League. And it starts with practice, then it goes to preseason games, it ramps up. Then it's the season opener, which is ridiculous, especially if you got a primetime game at night.
You have to calm down a little bit. Is that where the veterans kind of start to show leadership right from the beginning? Because you can just be overhyped for game one.
I used to cover kickoffs, so I'd be the right R2. There's 10 guys covering kicks and the kicker, and I was on the far right, one guy inside the safety over there, and literally your legs would be shaking, getting ready to go kick that thing off and blow the whistle and go hit somebody for the first time. And then once that happens, they always say, like, take that first hit or get that first play out of the way, and then you kind of settle down and realize you're just playing football like every other game. So, but it gradually ticks up from preseason to maybe like a Monday night or Sunday night game, and then if you're lucky enough to play in the postseason, it gets even more ramped up for those games as well. So there are levels of intensity that you don't feel in practice. And I guess my point of the preseason games is as close as you get to a regular season game, and there's different emotions you feel and energy and all the different things you have, and how does your body react and how does your mind react when you get thrown in those situations when it's real football. So that's part of the reason I like having guys play, because especially young guys, and I get it, like Kirk Cousins last year didn't really need to play football because he played 15 years or whatever it is, and Matt Ryan towards the end of his career. But when you have new players and a new center, and you're in shotgun all the time, does it change at all when the lights are on and it's a night game and things are happening? So that's why I like to get at least a couple series in and let you feel it out a little bit.
Well, a couple of guys have missed some time, a couple of rookies, edge rusher Jalen Walker and safety Xavier Watts. They have been banged up through camp, and despite the injuries that have limited their participation, they were both full participants at practice yesterday, mostly working with the second-team defense, but they did get a series in with the ones. Here is Raheem Morris on the update on Jalen Walker and Xavier Watts.
I believe Walker will be full today. Yesterday we kind of pulled him back a little bit to get ready for today. When you come back from those hamstrings, it's like the back-to-back days are the things that kind of get you. So we're trying to avoid those things. So we'll have those guys out there. Walker's a guy that gets significant amount of work today in our scrimmage. He'll get some within the game setting and then see what we can do there. And then obviously Watts will be kind of on the same pattern. He's a little further ahead. His was a little less of a grade, whatever the case is. I don't want to sound like a doctor up here. But they'll be out there playing. They'll give you some reps. I don't want to give an exact number, but we'll get those guys out there for a couple of series and get them a feel for it.
Hey, Lindsay. That's good. They got healthy. They got reps.
Right.
They got action before preseason game number one.
Super important for those guys to get action in the preseason because they haven't really – I know they played high-level football at Notre Dame and at Georgia, obviously, and SEC and what Notre Dame does, but it really – I don't know. Maybe I'm – no, I'm not. Early on, I was different because I came out of Villanova. I hadn't seen anything like it before in my life. But as my career started continuing to go, and a year after year after year – and I still play the preseason just about every single year, it's different than practice. It just is. And it gives you a chance to work with your teammates and get a feel for what's going on.
Here is Raheem Morris talking about Michael Penix Jr., who will not play tomorrow, and how important it was for him to get in on the scrimmage yesterday with his teammates.
Michael Penix is going to go out there, and he's going to get all the things you can get from a game standpoint, except not getting hit, right? Those are the things I don't need to practice because of the games we got last year. You feel really good about him going in the game, what a pocket presence feels like, what he feels like in the pocket, what he feels like after getting hit, what he feels like coming off the sideline. I can give him as much as I can give him out here on practice field without getting him hit.
So that's it. Put him in the red jersey. Do not touch him. Pull up if you beat the offensive lineman and just go on to the next play.
The number one thing in practice is you want to make it through clean. You don't want guys on the ground. You don't want people at his feet falling all over the place, and you sure as hell don't want him getting hit in practice. But is 3 games enough for him not to have to see any preseason action this year?
No, not any. I get your point. If you go out there with the starters,
new center.
Yeah, with the starters and I would say a drive. If you played a serious drive and fill it out. If your defense pitches a 3 and out, maybe 2 drives in game 2. And then I think that's enough work for everybody to get hit, offensive linemen to get some work in, wide receivers to get jammed, make some moves, running backs to, get knocked down and get back up. To me, that's enough. And then the third game, nobody goes out there except for the 4 or 5 guys who might end up making the team.
Right. Nope. Sounds like a plan.
Reality happens out there.
There you go.
It is. Now, we've had James Pierce Jr. and his name come up. We keep talking about the fights, but he also has been pretty active in his ability to win some of his battles. And Coach Raheem Morris talked about the fight portion because tomorrow will be an opening eye for a lot of people for his first time against real competition.
Got a little too rough for him in a helmet practice. Those two going at each other, it's nothing new. It was a respect thing. And then when you see that happening, like for me, it's easy to get in front of those guys, catch eye contact, tell them to stop. I hate the fighting. I dislike it completely. But like we say, man, things happen, but you got to be able to control those things very quickly. James is a very smart football player. Didn't have any personal fouls in college. He's one of those guys that you got to know every other team's looking at too, trying to antagonize you. So when these teams going to come in there and try to antagonize you, how cool and calm you remain as you continue to play and play at a very high level is very important to us.
It's perfect. Perfect answer. He doesn't like the fighting. No coach does. And the fact that he had that information about James Pierce Jr. not having any personal fouls at Tennessee.
Right.
He was ready to go.
No question. So he understands how to kind of harness it like we talked about yesterday.
And we saw it the day we were out, the last time they had practice outdoors. You see the Avengers where, Black Widow has to kindly, softly touch the hand of the Hulk so that he calms down a little bit. To Raheem's, he got right in front. Everybody was trying to separate him. It was dog fighting and pushing and shoving, and Raheem inserted himself, got right in the face of James Pierce Jr. Whatever he said to him, he stopped. And then they went on and they continued practice. So he is not a guy who gets the flag thrown, so we don't want to see that tomorrow night. So there you go. It looks like our young rookies, our safety, and our edge rusher, Jalen Walker and Xavier Watts, they're good to go. Now we'll see what kind of time they may get. Kaleb McGary, the other story in camp. He is now one of the most important men in the Falcons franchise, the blind side protector of left-handed quarterback Michael Penix Jr. And Kaleb McGary, he was very, very pleased about what he is seeing. He got his new deal, and he just talks about the good things that are going on right now for the Falcons.
I think we're progressing really well. I certainly like where we're at now versus where we started. Not that, things were bad when we started, but day one is always going to be day one, no matter how good you are. We certainly got stuff to clean up, me included, especially. Like, nobody's had a perfect day out here, and which I think is a good sign because everyone's still growing and, got room to grow. I think where we're headed is going to be really cool.
So a lot has been made of the right tackle position because you got a left-handed quarterback, but I've heard it talked about, and it makes sense. The fact that the NFL has turned into a shotgun type of league anymore, like there really is, it's hard to have like a full-on blindside. I know your back is kind of turned to it, but when you're facing the line of scrimmage 5 yards deep, you see everything that's happening.
Get a peek at who could come off the edge.
Right. If you got tight end help, if you got a running back, you can send that way to chip the defensive end. So it's not like you take the snap from center and then backpedal and drop for 5 or 6 or 8 yards and have no idea what's going on to your right side as a left-handed quarterback. So he should be fine. I thought he looked good in training camp when we've watched him. Obviously, I think last year left a bad taste in our mouth in week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers when we watched T.J. Watt destroy the entire game plan. And then we snapped the ball off Charlie Warner, and he picked up the fumble as well. And he didn't help Kaleb McGary enough. So when we play teams like whoever, Cleveland or Philadelphia or these guys that have some monsters in the defensive line, you have to adjust and help your guy out a little bit. I think that'll take place this year. I think that was the one mistake Zach Robinson made last year not really helping Kaleb McGary out enough, especially when you got a guy like T.J. Watt.
And it was the first game that Kirk Cousins had played, didn't play any preseason, and he admitted, this year, a year later, that he was healthy, but his heel was still kind of tight.
Yeah, his ankle was all jacked up.
So he wasn't 100% healthy, but he was good enough to go.
I guess where I stand on how different this year is, though, is that Kirk Cousins going into last year, if you take the health completely out of the equation, you're looking at a guy that you think is a veteran quarterback, and he doesn't need preseason maybe as much, and he got into that game. I just feel differently about Penix Jr. Of course, no one wants to see him go out there and have something happen where he's getting hurt, but if he shows up in game one, Finn, and there are a number of miscues, are you going to look back and think we should have seen him more in the preseason, or are you going to be okay with the fact that they kept him healthy?
They practice so much. They see every single defense. So we were out there in the rain on Monday, maybe, and I was standing there next to Brian Baldinger, who Baldy and I came up together, I guess you could say. When I was in Europe, Baldy was getting his feet wet commentating games for NFL Europe. So we got to see each other quite a bit, and that's where our friendship kind of developed. So we're standing in the end zone, behind the end zone, and we're watching Michael Penix, and we got a perfect view of the kid. And the defense sets up, and it looks like it's going to be cover 0, which means there's no safeties deep. Everybody looks like they're going to blitz. And then he did a hard count. And I don't know if it was an intentional hard count or he said easy or whatever. So he gives a hard count, which is a fake snap count, and gets the defense to shift a little bit so you can kind of see that this safety's coming back, the other safety's coming. So he knew it was going to be cover 3. So he read it perfectly, and he goes through the cadence again, takes the snap, takes a couple steps, and then almost blindly throws a skinny post to his right side to Ray McLeod or whoever it was for an unbelievable throw and catch. And it just showed me that he's super comfortable with anything that they throw at him. So they practice all these different situations. There's between minicamp and OTAs and all these weeks of training camp, he's seen just about everything he's going to see in 6 years in college or whatever he played. There's really not going to be anything that's going to be foreign to him. So, to be honest, does he need to play in the preseason? Probably not. But I always go back to having that continuity with your offensive line, your new center, and all that stuff. I'd love to see him play a little bit, but it doesn't have to be a lot.
Well,
and to your point, if he jacks up the first series or two in week 1, am I going to be concerned? I don't know. We've just kind of let it play out.
Not concerned, because to your point, it's just different when the lights go on, right? That's all. It's not that he hasn't seen something. I'm saying a miscue could come just for the sake of nerves. Who knows? Whatever it may be. And I was merely not a concern, but will you be maybe throwing your hat kind of thing?
No.
Because you're like, gosh dang it.
Well, he's thrown into a situation, though, because this is his first year starting. So what were the first year expectations for Bo Nix? What are the first year expectations for J.J. McCarthy? What were the first-year expectations for Trevor Lawrence? The issue is he's thrown into something where there's been a whole lot of losing, a whole lot of questionable draft picks and decisions, and so he is now thrown into expectations. But we don't really care about what's going on or what he should be. We got to go to the playoffs. And so he's thrown into this thing when really it's his first year starting as a quarterback. So there should be some room and some leeway,
of course,
for him to have some mistakes or some downtime.
It's the ultimate team sport. He can't do anything unless the offensive line blocks. He can't complete a pass unless the receivers are where they're supposed to be. If the defense is garbage again and we lose 30-27, I mean, whose fault is it?
That's not on him.
So it's all about how it plays out and what happens.
And he's teased us because he took us down the field in the nation's capital, and he took the game to overtime, and we should have won it. And then he took us down the field the last game of the season against the Carolina Panthers when they scored 65 points, it felt like, and he got us to overtime. So he has shown in clutch moments when it didn't matter, the Falcons still were eligible for postseason play when he was doing those things, that he is ready for high-pressure moments.
We scored 34, 24, and 38 points when he was our quarterback. I mean, he gets you up and down the field.
That's enough to win.
He knows how to play, and I think he'll be just fine.
And that's with bad defense, kickers missing field goals, and some other things. Coaches not taking timeouts involved in those things as well. So hopefully Michael Penix Jr., when we do see him, he looks sharp, he stays healthy, and will be ready to go for week 1.